Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into Viksit Bharat 2047. Now, this isn't just some dry policy document. It is a massive, ambitious blueprint to transform India into a developed nation by the time it turns 100. So, the big question is, what's it actually going to take to get there?
All right, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get a sense of just how big this dream is. Then, we'll look at the global challenges it's up against. After that, we'll unpack the core strategies and even zoom in on a couple of key areas. And we'll wrap up by asking that huge question: can this vision actually become a reality?
So let's start with the dream itself. What is the scale of this ambition? Well, at its very core, it's a vision that's built on this powerful belief in the country's potential, and especially its people.
And this really gets to the heart of it. The whole vision seems to be anchored in this deep faith in India's youth. The idea here isn't that this is some purely top-down government plan. No, it's really being framed as a challenge, a call to action for the next generation to step up and actively build the country's future.
And here's the headline number that just puts the scale of that ambition into perspective: a $30 trillion economy by 2047. Now, just for context, India's GDP right now is floating around $3.7 trillion. So we're not just talking about steady growth here. This is a projected 10-fold leap. That is a truly massive economic transformation.
But, no plan ever happens in a bubble. This massive ambition is being launched into a world that's facing some pretty serious headwinds, some really fundamental shifts in how countries even talk to each other.
One of the biggest headwinds they're talking about is this idea of reversed globalization. So what does that mean? Well, essentially, that era of a more and more interconnected world seems to be hitting a wall. What we're seeing now is more protectionism, more country-first policies, and kind of stepping back from the open trade that really defined the last few decades.
Now, this new reality, it's a double-edged sword for India. It presents both a major risk and a huge opportunity. On the one hand, you've got the U.S. hitting Indian goods with some pretty steep tariffs, which could really hurt key export industries. But on the other hand, the tariffs on Chinese goods are even higher, and that creates a vacuum, an opening that India could potentially fill, positioning itself as a new go-to hub in these reshuffled global supply chains.
So, given this changing world, how exactly does the Viksit Bharat plan aim to hit its targets? Well, the strategy really seems to focus inward, building up several core engines of growth to make the nation stronger from the inside out.
And as you can see, this strategy is incredibly broad. It's really a holistic mission. It touches pretty much everything, right? From the absolute foundations of the economy, like agriculture and infrastructure, all the way to the well-being of its people with things like healthcare and education. And all the while, it's looking toward the future with tech and green energy.
Okay, let's zoom in on that first engine, agriculture. For decades, people have called it the backbone of the Indian economy. And this plan, well, it's calling for nothing short of a complete reinvention.
A huge piece of this puzzle is something called the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. We're talking about over 1 lakh crore rupees. That's more than 12 billion US dollars being pumped into critical stuff like modern warehouses and cold storage. The idea is actually pretty simple. Stop food from spoiling after it's harvested and add more value to it before it even leaves the farm gate.
And it's not just about infrastructure. There's also this major push towards sustainability. You've got schemes promoting organic farming that are already helping over 2.5 million farmers. So this isn't just about producing more, it's about producing better, with a real eye on the long-term health of the soil and the environment.
But beyond the physical stuff, just look at the scale of the digital transformation happening here. There's a platform called ENAM, that's the Electronic National Agriculture Market, and it's basically creating a single, unified marketplace online. The numbers here are just staggering. You have over 1,500 physical markets now linked up, connecting almost 18 million farmers directly to buyers all across the country. This is not just an app, it's technology that's fundamentally rewiring the entire business of farming.
Okay, next up, let's look at that second pillar in action: infrastructure. And this isn't just about building more roads and bridges. It's really about physically connecting the nation to unlock future growth and efficiency.
So here's a major logistical problem India has faced for a long time: its reliance on foreign ports. As you can see, a staggering 75% of its transshipment cargo, that's basically cargo that gets moved from one big ship to another on its way to its final stop, is currently handled outside the country, in places like Colombo and Singapore. And every time that happens, it adds time and money to trade.
The new Deepwater Vision Jam port is designed to be the answer to this exact problem.
The logic is simple. Why not bring all that transshipment activity home? By doing just that, it's projected to save the country an estimated $220 million in foreign currency every single year. That's a direct shot in the arm for the nation's economic self-reliance.
So, we've seen the massive vision, we've looked at the global challenges, and we've drilled down into a couple of key strategies. And all of this brings us to the core philosophy that's holding it all together. What's the fundamental path India is trying to walk here?
Well, the entire Viksit Bharat 24/7 vision really seems to hinge on what's being called a middle path. It's a really delicate balancing act. On one hand, you have this big push for Atmanirbhar Bharat, which basically translates to a self-reliant India. But on the other hand, it's not about closing the doors to the world. It's about engaging strategically and finding new, diverse partners around the globe.
And so, this leaves us with the big, forward-looking question. The blueprint is ambitious, the goals are crystal clear, but the path forward is, well, it's complex. Will this grand plan be resilient enough to navigate the choppy waters of global change and actually turn this powerful vision into a reality by 2047? At the end of the day, that remains the defining challenge.